This episode of the Young Turks brought to you by Jackthread. Over the weekend, there was also the Uncut movement. That is the movement where they are going throughout the country and trying to go to different companies. For example, last weekend it was the Bank of America and say, look, you're not paying your taxes, so we're going to do demonstrations here and possibly interrupt their businesses for a brief period of time, as happened in San Francisco. They kept giving $1.5 billion checks, fake checks, of course, to the tellers until the bank shut down. Now, why are they doing it? Because 2/3 of corporations in the U.S. Don't pay taxes. They have all these loopholes, they have exemptions, they have subsidies, etc. For example, Bank of America in 2009 made $4.4 billion in profit. And not only did they not pay any taxes, they got a tax credit of $1.9 billion. That's what happens when you've got great lawyers, great lobbyists, and you've got the politicians in your back pocket. So now this Uncut movement wants to shine a light on that, and I think it's fantastic in that regard. Think Progress wanted to hear what Republicans thought of that, about the idea behind that movement. So they asked some Republicans. First, they asked Trent Franks of Arizona, and his answers are, of course, amusing. So let's watch.
But what I'm saying, to raise corporate taxes or to increase the corporate taxes won't hurt the corporations. They just have to pass it along. They'll still have to become. But what it will do is to drive.
Most small businesses actually pay their taxes, but a lot of these larger corporations they use what's called the double Dutch corporate loophole through Dublin and Holland. You know, like Google.
I think that's a bad thing. That's a bad thing.
So you agree with these liberals that we should crack down on these corporations to pay their taxes?
What I agree with is that we should reduce taxes on the corporate level and the private level. I believe that will bring jobs to this country. I believe that will increase the productivity of this country. But I agree with you if there's some sort of fraudulent offshore loophole, that's a different situation. But the idea of raising corporate taxes or keeping corporate taxes high or anything like that, because let me suggest to you that the reason that some of these larger corporations are not paying taxes is because either they have to pay taxes on the profit that they make. And
they're paying zero. Like, well, then Bank of America is one of the largest banks in the world, and they haven't paid anything.
If they were making profit, they'd have to be paying taxes, and they're having huge numbers of jobs and things like that. So it's not the tax code that's making them pay zero. It's probably this economy that's tanked so badly that's making them pay zero.
Citigroup was one of the most profitable years ever last year. Citigroup had one of its most profitable years ever in the last 2 years.
And you're saying that they didn't pay any taxes on a profit?
In 2009, at least. We don't know about 2010 yet. All right. Well, thank you.
Look, I don't know if he's pretending not to know, but my guess is he probably doesn't know. Yeah, Citigroup had a hugely profitable year. They didn't pay taxes. Bank of America, hugely profitable year. They got a $1.9 billion tax credit, right? And so now what did Trent Franks repeat a couple of times there? Well, actually, the corporate taxes are too high because that's a Republican talking point. How could 0% be too high? He said it another time. The problem is that these corporations have been paying too much taxes. No, they've been paying zero taxes, 2/3 of them. So look, and he says, it's because of tough economic times. No, it has, look, it's not about that. It's about using accounting tricks. It's about using loopholes that they got the politicians to put in there for them so they don't have to pay the taxes. And he said at one point, well, look, if they're not paying any, I agree that there's a problem with that. Really? My guess is you'll go back and your campaign donors and your staffers who previously worked at banks and are going to work at banks at their next job will tell you, oh, no, Trent, stay on the talking point. Stay on the talking point. Corporate taxes, even if they're at 0%, are too high. Now, the official tax rate might not be 0%, of course, it's a different number. What they actually pay is 0% for 2/3 of them. Now, Jeff Flake didn't even go as far as Trent Franks. He's another Republican congressman from Arizona. He just kept insisting, no matter what you tell him, no, taxes should be reduced. What, below 0%? I don't know. Let's find out.
Tomorrow there's a series of rallies around the country that CBS News has called the liberal version of the Tea Party, where people are going out into cities and protesting and demonstrating and demanding that corporate tax cheats should pay their fair share. For example, Citigroup paid nothing in corporate taxes in 2009. ExxonMobil paid nothing. GE paid nothing. Google, I believe, paid 2 to 3%. Do you think these corporations are taxed at an appropriate level?
I haven't even looked at that. So.
Is it something that you would be interested in looking at?
Well, we're looking at corporate taxes. Obviously, I agree with even the Obama administration have said that we need to lower the rates, get rid of some exemptions, lower the rates, and so we're in a better position to compete internationally. Because right now, I think we have the second highest corporate tax rate in the world.
But you see that Bank of America pays nothing. Do you think that's fair?
Well, I haven't looked at their books, so I don't know.
Well, they're a public company.
Back to the spending. When you have a $1.5 trillion deficit and a $14 trillion debt, we can't continue to go on like that.
Well, if we have a huge debt and deficit, don't you think these corporations that aren't paying any taxes should pay their fair share?
That's everybody should pay their fair share. People's definition of fair share is different.
They pay zero though.
Again,
and GE as well. Nothing. Citigroup, the largest bank in the world. Zero corporate taxes here in America.
I'd have to look at your figures.
Sure, I can supply them to you. But thank you for your time, Congressman.
All right, there was a couple of things that were awesome in there. First of all, the guy's telling him, look, they paid no taxes. And he says over and over again, we have to lower their rates. Look, their theoretical rate is one thing, but in reality, they're paying no taxes. How can you lower it? How can that be the answer? Then he wants to change the topic and goes, let's talk about cutting spending. Because raising taxes on corporations, the Republicans have no interest in that. So let's instead change the topic to how we can cut your programs, whether it's your education, whether it's the roads that we're trying to build and bridges we're trying to build across the country. Let's cut those. Shush about corporations. And when the guy asks about paying their fair share, he says, well, it depends on your definition of fair share. You know what? It really does depend on that. If you're a Republican, the definition of corporations paying their fair share is apparently less than zero. Like Bank of America got $1.9 billion in tax credit. To Republicans, they're like, yes, they got their fair share. And eventually some of that money will get funneled back into my pocket so I can get reelected. And that'll be my fair share. By the way, look, we do business with GE because they're still part owners of MSNBC. We do business with Google. They obviously own YouTube, which we're partners with. It's not about hating on the companies. It's about common sense. It's about paying your fair share. And they're taking advantage of these tax loopholes, which they shouldn't be taking. Look, it's absurd to say they shouldn't be taking advantage of loopholes. If you put loopholes in there, of course they will. They'll have a fiduciary duty to take advantage of those loopholes. So it is the job of the politicians and us, the people, to demand that there not be those loopholes, that we make sure that everybody pays taxes, not just us, not just the average guy, not just the middle class, but that everybody pays their taxes. That's what we're going for. That's what we pressure towards. So it's a right is right, whether it's a company you deal with or a company you don't deal with. Of course, Republicans don't see it the way we do. They think, well, look, if those guys are going to funnel the money back to us, it's all going to be okay. I don't think so.
Jack Threads is a new sponsor for TYT. They're a members-only online shopping club, but because you know us, you're going to get in. Aren't we cool? But here's the key part to it, 80% off. Hello, up to 80% off of some of the top apparel lines in the country. Game over.
Right.
So go to jackthreads.com/TYT because it's free to join, and you get all those discounts, and you avoid the pain in the ass. The ending of this commercial is a little schwang wang wang.